D.C. Motherhood and apple pie, right? How do you do that? Well, you're talking to the guy who, when I started with the department in January of '89, Florida was getting 73 cents back on the buck. When I left in 2001, we were getting 86 cents back on the buck. How much are we getting back now? 86 cents. 86 cents still, okay? So we've got to do better, and don't let the facts kind of whiz past you. If we're paying $1 and getting 86 cents, where's the other 14 cents going? Well, someone said Alaska. Here's a dirty little secret there is states like Alaska may get $6 back for every dollar they put in, but they put in chump change. They hardly put anything in. It's not the Rocky Mountain states that might get $2 back for every dollar they put in. It's the Northeast. Up until '98, when we changed the law in Washington, Massachusetts was getting $2.50 back for every $1 they put in. It's part of Tip O'Neill's legacy, the big dig, okay? So now it's our turn. We've got to change it, and we can, and not exclusively on his shoulders, but John Micah from Florida is the chairman of the Transportation Committee in the House. Trivia question. When was the last time that Florida had a chairman of the Transportation Committee in the U.S. House? That's the right answer. Thank you for playing. We have a lovely parting gift. Okay. Now, he can't do it alone, and see, what we ought to be doing is this. Well-intended, but we made a fundamental mistake, the state did, in '05, the bill that's currently in place called Safety Lou, horrible name. You know why it's called Lou, by the way? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you know, safety, and then Lou was supposed to be legacy for users. Don Young was a chair, and his wife's name is Lou, and he promised that they would put her name in the title. Now, I've been married 26 years, but I'm not sure I'd even have the guts to do that. But anyways, Micah's there. We made a mistake last time, though. George, you remember, the department had these like license plates that looked like Florida had 95%, right? Henry, remember? 95%, that's what we want to get back. What's the problem with that? If you ask for 95%, you're guaranteed of not getting 95%. That's your opening bid. When Connie Mack was, former senator, was still in there, his theory was we ought to be asking for more than $1 and then settling for $1 rather than asking for less than $1. Why do we want to do this? You know, Ben Watts, who was the DOT secretary for a long time, been here and then elsewhere. Ben's charge to me in Washington was pretty basic. He said, Doug, what we want is favoritism. What we'll settle for is fairness, okay? So we ought to be making the case to do more of this. And in case you think, well, this is just rhetoric, there's stuff we can do. There is stuff we can do. I mean, one of my agency review members had a pretty basic one. He said, well, he's a road builder from Southwest Florida, and he said, well, if we're paying $1 and getting 86 cents back, why don't we just keep the 86 cents, pay them 14 cents, and not have all the federal strings attached to the 86 cents? I mean, there's some pretty simple ideas, okay? Now here's one of the things. Who knows who Frank Luntz is? Frank Luntz, you know? Okay, you've seen him on TV, sort of national GOP kind of focus group guy. Used to be on MSNBC, now he's on Fox. We had him speak at our event at Mission Inn, actually, in '03. And one of his points is very appropriate here for us. He said, when government offers a complex solution to what we all know is a complex problem, the public won't trust them. Now, the public realizes that there are complex problems, but they kind of been burned by government offering complex solutions, and they view that as a way for a government to sort of pull a fast one on you. So whatever we have needs to be easily explainable, even if it's not a simple solution. We ought to be able to explain it like I just did. There's something we actually proposed. Ask yourself, well, how did we go from 73 cents to 86 cents? Actually, we went from 73 to 79 in '91, and then 79 to 86. So 13-cent improvement. How did we do that? We were smart. We had two tracks running at the same time. We had what we viewed as a more mainstream bill called Step 21, and we had a coalition of other donor states like Florida. And then we also had something that Senator Mack and then Congressman Kasich from Ohio, now Governor Kasich of Ohio, it was called Turnback. Has anyone ever heard of Turnback? Okay, the notion is this. The federal gas tax is about 14 cents, 14 and change. Ask yourself, how much of that is necessary to fund the interstate highway program, to maintain it? About 4 pennies. Well then, what we ought to do, let's keep 6 cents at the federal level. Let's gradually, over a period of 2 or 3 years, gradually reduce the federal gas tax and allow state legislatures to pass a replacement tax. They decrease it maybe 3 cents a year over 4 years, okay? How am I doing on time? Okay. Reduce it down, let states pass a replacement tax, right? You're thinking, okay, so what? Well, the idea would be, in Florida, if we're decreasing the federal gas tax 12 cents, but we're only getting 86 cents back on it, heck, the Florida legislature could pass a 10 or 11 cent replacement tax, get more money, and actually have a decrease for the motoring public. Talk about a win-win proposition. Now, what we found out was, you know, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat member of Congress, you don't really want to turn loose federal taxing authority, okay? But by simply having that as an alternative, that was viewed as more extreme. It allowed folks to compromise on the other package. Last time we didn't have that. So we've got to be smart about how we play the politics and do the coalition building. So I could go on longer, but I won't. But we're the 4th largest state, soon to be the 3rd. We're going to pick up 2 seats in reapportionment in 2 years. That'll be helpful. It'll be over by then. Within the next 2 years, we'll have a new bill. We've got to be involved and help Congressman Micah now. Next point we made was, all right, I've been married 26 years. Who in the room has been married longer than that? Okay. And it's mostly guys, I see. Okay, you guys are smarter than I am, okay? At some point along the line, you've learned to listen to your wife. If you've been married this long, I'm sure. Or else you've tuned her out, I'm not sure which. Okay, anyways. Well, I'm just joking, okay. What my wife always tells me is, Doug, don't go buy your clothes at some discount place. Go to a nice store and buy it when it's on sale. Buy higher quality. Makes sense. I'm 26 years, I'm starting to learn, right? That's what we should be doing in transportation. Right now, we have a buyer's market. Denver Stutler was the DOT secretary about 5 years ago, right before the recession. They actually had a conference because the economy was going great guns. DOT would issue some bids for proposals for bids, and they would get 1 or 2 bids, and they would come in well above the targeted dollar amount. That was a problem, okay? Fast forward to 2011. What's the market like now? You're getting 10, 15 bids per project. They're coming in significantly lower. It's the time we should be buying. It's a buyer's market. Spend the money we got now to get further. Another one real fast, and I'll try to pick it up for you guys and finish up here. We called it Stop the Double Jeopardy Hit on DOT. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Okay. You do, but you're cheating. Okay. And we talked about this on the phone. Okay, so you're a double cheater. What you've got is this. DOT is, again, different than any other state agency. They're cash flowed, and they're required by law when something called the Revenue Estimating Conference. The sort of smart guys in Tallahassee get together and say, here's how much money we expect to be coming in, right? And they say for transportation, here's how much more we expect to have. If it's less than what DOT had been planning on, they automatically have to reduce their work program to match anticipated revenues, okay? They do that. No other part of state government does that. So the problem then is you have the legislature come into town for the session and will say, times are tough, we need to cut back, and they might have some sort of across-the-board cut and treat all agencies the same and say, take a 5% cut or 15% cut. But DOT is the only one who already gave it the office. So it's a double whammy, a double hit. It's not right, and it's counterproductive if we know that DOT is the one that can produce real jobs in the private sector. So we ought to stop that. And the last point we made was this. Use innovative finance when it makes good sense. Now, you know what I'm talking about? Innovative finance, P3s, public-private partnerships, and so forth. I've got a friend, Bob Burleson, that heads up the road builders. He says, he and I are both kind of skeptics about some of the innovative finance ideas. He said, innovative finance is what you do in the private sector right before you declare bankruptcy, okay? So we've got some folks, now P3s, public-private partnerships, ought to be part of the solution, but they're not the entire solution. Let me give you a good example and a bad example. Bad examples, there's been discussion in the past that we ought to, they'll say sell off, but what they really mean is a long-term lease of the Skyway Bridge or Alligator Alley, you know, a toll facility. No, that's a bad idea. Here's why. At FBT, Floridians for Better Transportation, we say P3s ought to clear 2 hurdles. They ought to bring more money to the table, and they ought to add capacity. A good example, as opposed to those, is Alligator Alley, if you go further